Hi everyone and welcome to the Expo. My name's Jodie Benveniste. I'm a psychologist, parenting author and the director of parentwellbeing.com, and I'm here on behalf of the Department of Education and Child Development to talk about the importance of the early years. And when we're talking about brain development, we're actually talking about the whole development of your child, so including their physical, social, emotional, their whole development. But what's really interesting is over the last few years, we've actually found out some really interesting things about what's happening within our children's brains and how development actually happens. And so now the idea is it's great to be able to share with you guys, because you're with your children every day, some of the things that you can do to help your child's development. Now, what's really interesting about brain development is that it's from the minute your baby is born, there are all these connections going off within their brains. And what that does is it creates a foundation for their learning and development. And then from there, that builds, and everything you do daily with your children helps build those skills and those connections until they've got millions firing off every day. And what's really good about this is that there's some really simple things that you can do. They do not take a lot of time, they do not take a lot of effort or money, but lots of really simple little things that you can do to help your children's development, which can really help them get off to the brightest start. Now, we know that the first 5 years are really important, and by that we don't mean it's really important to get it right in the first 5 years, otherwise, your children are, I was going to say stuffed. I'm going to say that. That's not the idea, but it is more about these early years are a fantastic opportunity to get our kids off to a great start. So that's what I'd like to share with you today. If my clicker works. Okay. So we know from the brain development research, the neuroscience, that there are 3 factors that influence our children's brain development and their development overall. The first one is genes. So we do all start life with a genetic blueprint, and that's our starting point. That's our children's starting point. But what happens the minute they're born is that these 2 other factors kick in, and they're incredibly important. The first one is the experiences that your child has every day. They help, as I said, create all those connections and lay that foundation. Brains are actually built from the bottom up, and then from there they build and grow. So everything you do with your baby from day one helps create that platform for their future growth and development. But the third factor is probably the most important one, and it's that we know that kids really thrive on relationships, on strong, loving relationships. And that actually helps and has a big impact on their brain development and their overall development. So every time we love, care, do anything for our children, we're helping build that strong relationship, which helps their development. So the experiences they have and the relationships they have with you and with other important people in their life is what creates that strong growth. So I'm going to talk about some simple, easy things that you can do to help your children's development. But before we get into that, I just want to acknowledge that for all of us who are raising kids or will soon be raising kids, it has got to be one of the most challenging roles in your life ever. I don't think there's anything more challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding, amazing, all of those things. In fact, I see it as it's everything. Raising kids brings up everything. So I work with a lot of parents, and the department has spoken and done a lot of research with parents too. All of us find parenting amazing and also really challenging and frustrating. If you're not experiencing that, you're in a very small minority. And many of us do feel guilty about whether we are doing the right things by our kids and whether we are doing enough of the right things. This is often compounded by the fact, I know we're at a baby expo and there's lots of information around, but there's lots of really confusing and conflicting information about parenting and raising our kids. And it can make it really difficult to make the right choices for ourselves. So that's why I want to share with you some really simple, easy things based on research, based on sound science that you can do, and you can be confident that you're really going to be offering your kids the best start. So if you ask parents what they want for their children, this is normally what they say. We really want our kids to be happy, to be healthy, and to live a good life. So that's what we're aiming for. And it's very achievable. It is very achievable. So what we've done is group these ideas into these 4 areas. So as I said, there's probably many of the things I will talk about are things that you may already be doing or things that you would intuitively do anyway. So this is going to be confirmation of all of those things that you're already doing, and also maybe just a few other ideas that you might want to incorporate into your everyday. But they're built around these 4 areas of care, learn, talk, and play. And as I said, they're not expensive. I think we get, again, we're at an expo where there's lots of products, there's lots of stuff. And yes, some stuff does help to raise kids, but oftentimes kids don't need lots of expensive toys, expensive activities. We can get caught up in that. So these are going to be just everyday things. That's what I wanted to share with you today. Now, the first factor is about how we care for our babies, our children. Now, for many of us, the way we think about parenting is the way that we were raised ourselves. That's our touchstone. And it may be that you think back and like, I never ever want to raise my child like that. For some of us, that's our experience. For others, it's, well, you know, how am I going to emulate that? My parents were amazing. So, but what we do know, there's been a lot of research that's been done into parenting styles, and we do know that there is one parenting style that actually makes a huge difference for children's growth and development. And the most important thing, the absolute best thing you can do for your child is to love them, to be warm, loving, and affectionate. Because as I mentioned before about those 3 factors that influence their growth and development, and the most important one is the relationships. And so that's what you're doing when you love your children, is you're helping build that strong relationship, which then is the foundation for their future learning and growth. I think that's what we're doing when we're raising kids. We're developing that strong relationship so that then they can go on to develop strong relationships with other people in their life. So if you're warm, loving, and affectionate, brilliant. Your kids are going to do really well. The other 2 are also helpful in terms of parenting style. The second one is around creating rituals and routines. I prefer the word ritual to routine, but some people love routines. Some people love really tight routines, other people don't. It's completely up to you. But the idea of a ritual is repeated things, activities that you do with your child. It might be at bedtime where you have a little ritual of bath, into pajamas, read them a story, have a cuddle. That's a bedtime ritual. Meal times, you might set up some rituals. These really help kids because it gives them a sense of safety and security, and gives them confidence about what's happening in their day. And it's a great way to just have those, repeated lovely moments with your children that help build your relationship as well. So kids actually do love a bit of a ritual routine. The third one is around as your babies grow a bit and they start to behave in more challenging ways, or babies can be challenging, but when they start to really behave in ways where you've got to, I suppose, guide what's appropriate behaviour and what isn't, setting some boundaries really helps. So, and by that, we can't be across everything every minute, but it's picking those things that are really important for you and your family. So it might be like healthy eating is really important in my family. So these are the rules in our house. Here's your plate of food, healthy, nutritious food. If you eat it, fantastic. If you choose not to eat it, you're not getting anything else, or you're not allowed to then have a sweet or a treat or whatever it is. So again, that's about you deciding on what's important in your family and holding tight firmly on those factors that matter, because your kids, it is their job to push the boundaries. That's what they're supposed to do, and they do it really well, some better than others. And it's our job to hold firm when it's important. So this is the parenting style which really helps kids. But the most important one is that top one, being loving, warm and affectionate. We do know that kids who grow up with parents or families or a situation where their parents or loved ones are cold, harsh, neglectful, don't really take an interest in their kids, that's not good for children's development at all. So warm, loving and affection is the go. The second factor is about how our children learn. But as parents, we don't actually need to sit down and teach our kids. What we need to do is just involve them in everyday life. And so the first set of ideas there about reading books, telling stories, singing songs, having a laugh, all of these help your children's literacy skills, so their language skills, and they're really simple things that you might already do or you can easily do with your child. But it's helping to create that platform for when they get to school, they're going to go on to learn how to read and write and do all these other amazing things. And everything you do in these early years is creating that platform for their future learning. The second list is about numerical skills, number skills, mathematical skills. And we often don't think that our children are learning these from a very early age, but they are. And by doing things like counting, measuring, comparing, that one's bigger than that one's shorter, that one's taller, sorting things into groups, whether it's the clean washing, there's mum's clothes, dad's clothes, baby's clothes, they're learning mathematical skills and abilities through those simple things. Telling the time, walking around the neighbourhood and looking at the numbers on the letterboxes, all of these things help your child's development. Really, really simple things. And as I say, it's not like we have to sit down with an iPad and a special app to teach them this stuff. This is stuff you can just do every day. The third one is play. And again, we don't actually need a lot of expensive toys. We don't need kids do not need screens. And we live in a very, very, very screen-based world, and I know why we all use them. But kids don't benefit a lot from screens, particularly in the early years. They can learn so much more from playing with boxes, pots and pans, things from the kitchen cupboard, playing outside in the sand, watching the ants crawl along the pavement, all of these sorts of things. Kids really learn from exploring and trying things and experimenting and just having the opportunity to run around and self-direct themselves and just follow their interests. So, and again, we don't need lots of expensive things to make this happen. Every time we do the reading with them, we tell them about what we're doing. I'll get onto that in a minute. We are helping them to play and learn, because the secret thing, kids know that play is not only fun, it's how they learn. And many of us as parents and as adults, we've forgotten how to play. We don't do it. We're so busy doing things and working, but this is how kids learn. So it's a really important part of their development to allow them to play, free play. The other really good thing is for them to play with others. So as they get older, they need to learn how to share and negotiate, and all of these sorts of things that you learn from playing with others. So, and the other thing is that our kids don't need us to be sitting there all the time on the floor playing with them. So it's great if you can find some time to do that, but it's also great to allow them to just roam and play themselves and to direct themselves. So Really simple things. It's the way kids learn. They're learning every day and they do it through play. The last factor is about talking to our children. Our kids learn a lot from us when we just involve them in the conversation. So we can be like a documentary running commentary, like the commentary on a documentary, just telling them about what we're doing, about what's happening around them. You can, even if they cannot talk, you can ask them questions, you can ask their opinion. You might be at the supermarket and say, oh, should we have pasta for dinner or should we have something else over here? You can just involve them in the conversation. When I had my first child, the midwife said to me, when you're changing her nappy, tell her what you're doing. When you are out walking around, say, oh, look at that. What's interesting? What's happening over there? The more you talk to your child, the better. You might feel like you're talking to yourself. You're not. They're listening. And it is helping their growth and development. So these are the 4 areas: care, being loving and affectionate, learning with them, talking to them as much as you can, and also playing. But if you want 3 key takeaways from what I've just discussed, it's these 3 things. So be loving and affectionate. If you do nothing else with your child, just be loving and affectionate, your child will be fine. Better than fine. But if you also speak, play and engage with your child, which is a way of showing them love and affection, and you involve them in your everyday life, they develop a strong sense of identity, of who they are, of being part of a family, and that really helps their growth and development. If you would like any more ideas, the Department of Education's stand is over in row 8, right down the other end there. And there's also a website called Great Start where they've got lots of ideas, and they also talk about the reasons why these activities help your child's development. So thank you all for coming. I hope that you've got some simple, easy ideas that you can take away with you. These first 5 years are not meant to be a test. I mean, they are a test, but they're not meant to be I've got to get it right. It's more about, let's use these years as a great opportunity to give our children a great start. So I wish you all very well and enjoy the rest of the expo. Thank you.